Is Drake Maye the potential first overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft? Maye is currently a redshirt sophomore at UNC. Going back to his recruiting days, he was a five-star quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina. He chose UNC over Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, and many other schools. Really sat mostly his freshman year as a redshirt year and then exploded as a true sophomore where he threw for 4,321 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He had a 91.5 PFF grade and graded out as an elite passer in really his first nation just as a true sophomore in his first year as a starter. That basically shows that he was able to take shots downfield and really convert big time throws that really converted into big explosive plays for his offense. And then additionally, looking at his turnover worthy plays, he had 16, which is a pretty good mark for your first year as well. Turnover worthy plays basically takes into account the wide receivers. Was it their fault? The offensive lineman, was it their fault? Or was it a dropped interception? That counts as a turnover worthy play. So it really gives you kind of a good encapsulation of what he really looks like as a whole beyond the true box score. And they were really impressive numbers. In 2023, through 8 games, he has 2,559 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, very much continuing on that same explosive pace from last year. He has 25 big-time throws, which is once again first in the entire nation, to just 6 turnover-worthy plays, a very good mark, and has a 91.0 overall grade. That is a fantastic mark and something that really shows how good and how consistent Maye has been over the past 2 years as a starter. Looking a bit more at his physical tools, he pretty much has everything you would look for in a quarterback prospect. Starting with the size, he's very well built at 6'4", 230 pounds, kind of your prototype build for a quarterback, and he has that as a big advantage over Caleb Williams, who is, potentially going to be the first overall pick that he is competing with. And Maye definitely has the size advantage over him. He's a much more natural size for a quarterback, and that might matter to some NFL teams. Maye also has great arm talent, the ability to throw deep down the field without a problem at all. He can rip it to the far sideline, has no problem with throwing with velocity and timing. He can throw from a variety of different arm angles, which make it really difficult for defenders to affect throwing lanes, and it just makes him so talented at getting the ball where it needs to go, pretty much anywhere on the field. Maye is also very accurate. He can throw when touched when needed to, or rip it into a tight window as well. I do think he can continue to improve reading leverages, placing the ball with pinpoint accuracy, kind of away from defenders, really hitting his guys in stride, but he has shown that he has the ability with his arm talent and with his accuracy to make any throw that is asked of him. Maye also has uniquely good pocket presence as well. It's potentially my favorite trait when really scouting him. I think it is so important, the ability to feel pressure, manipulate the pocket, step up, be able to get the throw off platform or reset. And I think Maye does that super well. Just the subtle movements are really impressive where he reads defenders' leverages against the blockers. He makes them miss and he can reset his feet, throw off platform. And that is such an important trait for a quarterback to have. And Maye absolutely has really impressive timing when it comes to a lot of those pocket movements. This also takes us to his unique rushing ability as well. He isn't necessarily the most dynamic or explosive athlete, but he makes things happen with his legs, and he moves surprisingly well for how big he is. We talked about him having that prototypical size. He can also move very well. He makes defenders miss very well in the open field due to leverage and just understanding, reading his blocks and where they're going to attack him. He also protects himself well from big hits, uses good judgment on when to escape the pocket and run, when to reset his feet, keep his eyes downfield, and beat the defense through the air with his arm. And so I think that combination of just his pocket mobility, his understanding of how to read blockers, how to read leverage, and when to escape and run versus when to stay in the pocket and really take his chances beating the defense with his arm, I think is such an impressive trait for Drake Maye here. His ability out of structure is very impressive, where he does show the ability to react quickly and work with his receivers in the scramble drill to make big plays even when the initial play call doesn't work. In structure, though, he goes through his progressions well. He's shown the ability to go through full field progressions. He can move to his check down with his running back when the wide receivers downfield aren't getting open, and he has had to do that because he doesn't necessarily have the best supporting cast Josh Downs went to the NFL last year. The receivers are fine, but they're nothing special. His offensive line, again, has its moments of being pretty good, but they're not the most consistent. And so Maye has shown that he can be a really good quarterback with not necessarily the best supporting cast around him. I think that's really important. When going through these progressions as well, he's shown that he can hit the backside dig or the backside post that is coming open late on the play. He can move off of that first and second read and occasionally hit that backside read when the offensive line gives him time, and he does a good job of going through those progressions, understanding when he needs to escape, when he has time to get to that backside read. When it comes to his decision making, it is generally solid, but it might be the area he can improve on the most. You still do see some erratic throws, some plays where he knows he's incredibly talented, and it appears he just kind of gets caught up trying to do too much, whether it's forcing a deep ball into coverage, breaking out of a sack and just kind of throwing it up for the heck of it, or being too aggressive in his reads based on the coverages he's seeing, are all things that I think pop up on Drake Maye's tape. If he can continue to clean up some of those decision-making aspects of his game, while not necessarily taking away his magic out of structure and his ability to be a playmaker when something breaks down, that is what would truly kind of propel him into that elite quarterback tier in the NFL. And with that being said, really he has everything that you look for in a quarterback prospect that you would want to take number one overall. Obviously this year, Caleb Williams is the heavy favorite to go first overall. Many are hyping him up to be kind of that generational quarterback prospect, the best since Trevor Lawrence or the best since Andrew Luck. And I do think that Drake Maye absolutely has an argument to be in that conversation with Caleb Williams. I think many analysts are becoming a bit more receptive to this idea as well, that Maye may be the better quarterback and he may be the first quarterback to come off the board, as I do think NFL teams will value some of the traits that Maye has. Dane Brugler from The Athletic, who I think is one of the most tuned in sources when it comes to the NFL draft, did put Drake Maye number one in his most recent big board, and I think a lot of that comes with how well Drake Maye has played, but also some of the concerns that Caleb Williams has shown at times during his season at USC this year. I think that many NFL teams could see the size advantage that Maye provides, 6'4" versus Caleb Williams being more like 6'1". Drake Maye is just a bit more prototype, a big advantage over what Caleb Williams has. We talked about how Drake Maye is so good creating out of the structure of the offense, and he is a playmaker. That's what makes Caleb Williams so special, but Maye has a much lower time to throw than Caleb Williams. Williams is over 3 seconds. It's 3.17, and that is just tough. It's the third longest in the entire nation. You just don't see many NFL quarterbacks that survive with time to throw that are that long. So I think Maye is just potentially a little bit further along when it comes to the ability to kind of get thrown into an NFL offense that doesn't necessarily have some of the supreme talent that somebody like Caleb Williams has at wide receiver in college or offensive line, and really be able to get the ball out effectively, operate within the structure of the offense, and be an effective player and create when things break down, but not have to rely on that almost every single play. And I do think that NFL teams could see that and value Maye as the number one overall pick. I still think that Caleb Williams is an immensely talented quarterback with a ton of potential to be a superstar, but I think Maye absolutely deserves to be in that conversation for the number one overall pick. I think a pro cop many have thrown around for Maye is Justin Herbert, and while I do see a lot of the similarities there, I think he has a lot of the same physical gifts when it comes to the arm talents and his ability to be kind of that just true big throw kind of player. I actually like the playmaking ability and the rushing ability of Maye more than I did as a prospect than Justin Herbert. Herbert has turned into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, so that's certainly high praise, but I will certainly have a higher grade on Drake Maye than Justin Herbert at this point based on my evaluations. I think at this point, Drake Maye is my quarterback one in the 2024 NFL class. If I was picking first overall and my team needed a quarterback, he would be the player that I would take right now. What do you think? Let me know down below. Is Drake Maye the best quarterback in the 2024 NFL draft, or is Caleb Williams still better? Let me know your thoughts down below. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button down below. While you're down there, hit the like button as well. It would truly help me out. It helps push this content out to other NFL draft fans just like you. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.